Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Buckmore Park for round one of the Club 100 Sprint Championships for 2018. It's a glorious sunny day here at Buckmore Park, our traditional season opener for Club 100. Great to have you with us on the Alpha live stream for what should be a fantastic day of racing. My name's Andrew Mather. Alongside me in the commentary box today is Howard Mitchell. Morning, Howard. How are you looking forward to this one?
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, everybody who has joined us this morning. Thank you very much for doing so. I am massively excited about today. It's always good to have the start of a new Club 100 season, Andrew. And it is lovely to be back here at Buckmore Park. Sun streaming down, as you say. It is bitterly cold out there. So getting tyres up to temperature straight out the pits is going to be an interesting challenge for the drivers. But already we're ready for Heat 1.
We are. So this is our elite class. These are our top drivers racing here today. Start of their championship will be 3 heats and then a final later on this morning. Here's the grid for Heat 1 then. Jack Harding will start on pole position alongside former champion Ian Blake. Row 2 will be Jonathan Lissiter and Taylor Mays, who's a late entry. Good to see him back. Row 3, David Longman. It's a while since he's been in elite, so good to see him back as well. Darren, or Daz Teal, is 6th on the grid for this one. Row 4 sees our reigning champion Joe Holmes starts his championship defence. Alongside him on that row is Daniel Healy. Row 5 is an all-Peter affair. Peter O'Connor starts on P9 and Peter Harris on P10. Row 6 is Rob Moore, former super heavyweight champion. Raced well in Clubman last year, promoted to elites this year. Let's see how he gets alongside Steve Brown, another former champion at this level. Row 7, Jack Bolton and Chris Dixon. Both, I believe, moving up to elites this year. Let's see how they do. And then row 8 is Steve Hicks and Rob Newman. Row 9 is Daniel Truman and Ed Bars. Row 10 is Sam Spinell and Harrison Darville, with Jay Elliott wrapping up the grid, a 21 kart grid, all by himself on row 11.
We'll get into this, of course, as we go through, but these are the heats which will determine positions for the final. Championship points, though, are on offer in the heats. 25 points up for grabs for the winner of this first heat of the day.
So coming round now. We'll see if we're ready for a start on this one. The revs are up and we are racing in Club 100 for 2018. They dive towards turn 1. Are they all going to get through into turn 2, into hairpin 1? Great opportunity to overtake, and it looks like Ian Blake going round the outside of Harding, trying to take the lead there. But I think Harding's going to hold on to that.
He's through on the inside of hairpin 2, Andrew. So I believe Ian Blake leads.
Coming down towards the downhill section in time sweep, and yes indeed, Ian Blake is going to lead on lap 1 here at Buckmore Park. Then it's Harding, Tyler Mays there in 3rd, Jonathan Lister going down the inside of Tyler Mays. Really good move there by the number 10.
Mays decides to go to the left of the bollards in avoiding action and up the inside.
That's Daz Teal.
It is indeed.
So Daz Teal up to 3rd place then. On the end of lap 1 it's going to be Blake from Harding, and then everybody else scrabbling over 3rd place. So it's Blake from Harding, Teal, Holmes, Joe Holmes already up to 4th place. Peter O'Connor's had a good start in 5th. Then Jonathan Lister, Daniel Healy, Jack Bolton, Steve Hicks and Tyler Mays, your top 10.
Lister was looking racy into hairpin 1 as well, Andrew, so he's a man on the move. Look for him as they come through the S's on lap 2 and into Syme sweep.
Top 3 has already broken away, so Blake, Harding and Teal. And Jonathan Lister going down the inside for 4th place there. Looks like he just about got the move done. Or has he? That's him battling with reigning champion Joe Holmes.
And Peter O'Connor in the mix for this as well, as is Daniel Healy.
So this will be the order of the day, folks. Fantastic close racing amongst the elites. All of these drivers capable of winning races on their day.
Oh, I think I just saw Daniel Truman getting past Jack Bolton into hairpin 1 for 8th place.
Contact warning for the number 5. That is Daniel Healy. But Blake leading by 0.7 of a second now over Harding. There's Jonathan Lister.
Very recognisable helmet in the number 10.
Top 5 championship finisher in the last 5 years, I believe, is Jonathan. Let me just check my crib sheet to make sure that's right. Yeah, that is correct. Good to see him back for another year of Club 100. There's the number 13, and they've had an issue. That's Peter Harris. And there's a penalty for the number 25, Tyler Mays. And it looks like an ABC takeout, so that's going to be a significant penalty there for Tyler Mays. I'm going to presume that's why Peter Harris has fallen down to the back of the order. 5 minutes to go then in this first heat of the morning. And it's still Ian Blake. There he is. Second in the championship last year. Had a bit of a break from Club 100 the year before. Was second in 2015, won the championship in 2014. This is just the way he would have wanted this 2018 edition of the championship to start.
Fantastic battle going on in the teens as well, Andrew. Further down the order, this is between the likes of Rob Newman, Ed Bars, Rob Moore and Harrison Darville. They're having a good battle through the last sector of the track I just saw.
Cone penalty for Darren Teal, so that'll be one position, I believe.
Joe Holmes
end of his
and
race.
Dan Healy were very close together going through the hairpins there, battling over 5th place. So keep an eye on that one. And I think that may have been a change for position. Look to see the 5 ahead of the 1.
Good second sector from Jack Harding, pulled in 0.2 of a second on Ian Blake in that last one.
Healy did indeed get past Holmes.
So just over halfway of this one then, Ian Blake still leads from Jack Harding. The gap is now 0.6 of a second. Darren Teal there in 3rd now. Jonathan Lister 4th. Healy up to 5th. Contacts warning as well for Joe Holmes and Jay Elliott. It's the 1 and the 8. There's Ian Blake coming up to Garda now. Jack Harding ran well in the endurance races yesterday, which ran in pretty much identical conditions to these. Very sunny, very cold. There's the number 15 and 28. That's the battle over 18th position. Chris Dixon ahead of Rob Moore. Rob making his debut at this level, as is Chris. So they're going along, finding their feet in elites for the first time. 3 minutes to go then.
And the lead, sorry Andrew, the lead battle is nice and close still here. Here they are on screen.
Yep, Jack Harding closed in another 1/10 of a second on that last lap around, that full lap, and he's just set the fastest sector in Sector 1 as well. Jack Harding really putting the pressure now on Ian Blake for the lead in Heat 1 for the elites. And as they come over the line, it's down under 0.3 of a second, Howard, as there's a penalty for Steve Hicks.
Yellow at hairpin 1 though, Andrew, so no opportunity there. Wondering what that's for.
I think there's a Kart stationary on the approach to hairpin 2. Penalty for Jack Bolton now as well, so the penalty's coming in thick and fast.
My eyes might be bad, but I think it's Jack Bolton who's stationary. Is he
Yes,
dropped down?
yes, he has dropped down.
Yeah, so Jack Bolton's stationary on driver's left, going into hairpin 2.
But the lead battle now, and Harding right on the rear bumper now of Ian Blake. There's a kart length between them, if that. With 2 minutes of this race to go. They'll climb the hill in front of us past the commentary box again. These two are well clear of everybody else, as Rob Moore still trying to, well, he's now fighting with Harrison Darville, another debutant in elites this year. Waiting now just for the leaders to come back into our sight. And it's still Blake leading from Harding. Cone penalty for Peter O'Connor. So even less than a kart length this time as they come up to Garda once again. Blake takes a slightly defensive line. There'll be this next lap plus one more, I imagine, And Harding is all over the rear bumper of Blake as they come through Cafe Corner. Rob Moore has got past Harrison Darville, so he's now trying to get past Tyler Mays. That's the battle for 14th place.
Blake going defensive into hairpin 1, Andrew. Harding is trying every which way here. Blake defensive in hairpin 2 again.
Fastest lap of the race has just been set by Steve Brown, a 46.448.
Leaders going towards Syme Sweet now. Very unlikely to be an overtaking opportunity there, but sometimes into paddock. But it's not on there.
Good drive for Blake off paddock corner. He's going to go defensive again into Garda. Heading on to the final lap then. I'll come over with about 10 seconds of the race to go. There's Dave Longman on your screens. Good to see him back there in the number 20. He was telling me earlier he's not had that much time in racing karts the last 6 months. And the lead battle side by side through hairpin 1. I just saw out the window, Howard. This is a fantastic start for Club 100 2018. A lead battle right to the very end. Who's going to take this? Is it going to be Ian Blake? Well, Ian Blake still leads for now as they go down Syme Sweet once again. Blake from Harding. Is Harding going to have a go up the inside? He's all over the rear bumper once again. Blake goes defensive.
But he'll be at risk coming through the centre chicane, and will Harding get a run up the hill? It's going to be his last opportunity, Andrew. I don't think it's going to be on here. No,
I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Ian Blake's going to take the first heat here at Buckmore Park today, and there it is across the line. A fantastic drive from the 2014 champion. Jack Harding pushed him all the way into second. Darren Teal will be very happy with third place to start his year. Joe Holmes, the reigning champion, in fourth. Jonathan Lissitter, fifth. Jay Elliott, 6th, Steve Brown, 7th, Daniel Healy in 8th place, Rob Newman in 9th, Steve Hicks in 10th, but he had a penalty, I remember. 11th place for Peter O'Connor, 12th for Sam Spinale, 13th for Daniel Truman, 14th for Edward Bars, 15th for Rob Moore, 16th Tyler Mays, 17th Chris Dixon, 18th Harrison Darville, 19th for Dave Longman, and then 20th Peter Harris, who had a spin out there, and 21st for Jack Bolton. Oh, entertaining race that, Howard, to kick things off here at Buckmore Park today.
Yeah, definitely. As we say, the creme de la creme of Club 100 karters there. I think showing right off the bat why they are at the top of their game. That was fantastic close racing throughout, not least for the lead of the race. So we now look to change over to the Clubman class, which is the tier below the elites, but above the heavyweights and lightweights. If you are tuning in to follow the heavyweights or lightweights, they are happening today, but bear in mind that is going to be later on in the day, and there will be a separate stream posted for those this afternoon. But you are more than welcome to continue joining this wonderful coverage of Clubman and Elites today. And of course, it is where lightweight and heavyweight drivers are aiming to be in the future. Thank you very much then for joining us here at Buckmore Park for this Alpha live stream of round 1 of the Club 100 sprints for 2018. We have the elites and clubmans for you this morning, and then later on in the day will be the heavyweights and the superweights. Sprint racing has been part of Club 100 since it began, and it still attracts a very impressive grid of drivers. And we are at what is, for many drivers, their favourite circuit. It's always been popular, Buckmore Park. Here in Kent, near to Chatham. Don't forget, as some of you are already, you can get your comments into us by commenting below the Facebook stream. We will see them there. I will also try and get Twitter to operate as well, for those of you who prefer that medium.
Yeah, you can tweet us in the box at @MM as the Clubmans come out. Good to see this year, Howard. I was looking at the entry list beforehand. A good amount of Clubmans who've stayed around for this year.
Yeah, I think that it's nice to have that continuity. Obviously, there have been some drivers who have moved on up from the ranks of lightweights and heavyweights to join them. Distinctive yellow plate of the Clubman class. If you're watching to support a particular driver, it's worth bearing in mind that they will retain their kart number throughout the year. So if there's someone in particular you're supporting, learn their number, because sometimes in the heat of the action that may be all we have to go off, or it might be all that we mention. So very worthwhile to learn that. And don't forget, you can follow all of the live timings. Don't just take our word for it. Head over to live.alphatiming.co.uk, click on Club 100, and that's where you will find all of the live timing, as well as the driver tracker, a lovely little map of Buckmore Park, which will show you roughly where the drivers are on track. You can also select a particular driver. So first, second and third on the road will have a gold, silver and bronze dot for their kart position accordingly. But if you want to select a particular driver on the tracker, just click their position number next to their name, and you should be able to follow them. Indeed, you have a choice of colours. You can have a blue or a red dot. That part of the Alpha Live timing system we're using. And indeed, it's an Alpha Live stream you're watching with myself, Howard Mitchell, alongside Andrew Mather in commentary. Still wall-to-wall sunshine, not a cloud in the sky here at Buckmore Park, but it is extremely cold. So some of these karts, it's not the case that all of the karts on track now, I should highlight by the way, they're currently doing their practice laps ahead of the heats, so none of the race action is being missed here. But not all of the karts on track, in fact none of the karts on track, I think, at the moment, were out in the previous heat, so they'll all be on cold tyres. If you're new to watching Club 100, you're watching two-stroke direct drive karts with slick tyres in all conditions. Andrew?
We've got a confirmed results from the first heat in elites, just for those keeping track. Ian Blake with the win, then Jack Harding, then Darren Tilley 1, 2, 3. Jonathan Lister, Jay Elliott, Steve Brown 4, 5, 6. Dan Healy, Joe Holmes, Rob Newman and Sam Spinell wrapping out the top 10. Daniel Truman, Ed Bars, Peter O'Connor, Rob Moore, Chris Dixon down to 15th. Harrison Darville, David Longman and Peter Harris, and then Jack Bolton. Those were your classified runners. 2 exclusions due to ABC's Steve Hicks and Tyler Mays. So this Clubman class, their first heat coming up very shortly once these 5 practice laps are right on cue. Here is your grid then for the first heat for the Clubmans in 2018. James Martin, the number 2, will start on pole position for this first one. Remember, random grids deciding the grids for this one. Alongside him on the front row will be Andrew Hall Jr. in the number 9. Row 2 will be Stephen Jennings and Stuart Osborne. That's the karts number 14 and number 7. Row 3 will be the number 16 of Matthew Fawkes and the 17 of Martin Theodoro. Second year for him in Clubman's. Used to racing the lightweights. Looking to improve this season. A very solid debut season for Martin last year. Row 4 is Mike Townley in the number 3. He's been looking forward to this one for a while. Alongside him on that row will be the number 13 of Frankie Hedges. Very experienced driver in these karts now. On to at least his 5th season of Club 100. Row 5 is the number 4 of Christopher Powell. Another ex-lightweight, second year of Clubman's for him. Looking to improve and possibly gain a few victories along the way this season. Alongside him on that fifth row will be the number 21 of Stefan Scully. Good to see Stefan back. Hope he can be here with us for the whole season. Very quick driver. Possible dark horse in this class here today. Row 6, one of our debutants in the Clubman class, being promoted from lightweights last year, finished 4th in the lightweights class last year. The number 11, Sammy Venables, starts his season in 11th. Alongside him on that 6th row will be the number 29 of James Taylor. Very, very strong driver round Buckmore Park. Row 7 will be William Topp in the number 19 and David Whitehouse in the number 12. David looking to have a cleaner season than last season. Didn't have much luck last year. Was talking to him last night in the hotel. He's charged and ready to go in this one. Row 8 will be the number 22 of Lee Kemp and last year's heavyweight runner-up Mark Ridout. Row 9 will be the number 6 of Christopher Bell and the number 8 of Paul Jennings. Good to see Paul back in Clubman action. He's been away for a while. Great to have him here at Buckmore Park. Row 10 will then be Simon Lloyd and Andrew Dawson. Row 11 is Darrell Lowe and John Watkins. I think we're ready for a go then. Here we go then, eyes on the lights. It's Heat 1 for Clubman 2018 at Buckmore Park and it's away. And James Martin straight into the lead. Oh, there's all kinds of chaos there. And I think Andrew Hall Jr. has been left out to dry. Stephen Jennings and Stuart Osborne were trying to get involved. 3 into 1 simply didn't go there. But the rest of them has made it all through as they go through hairpin 1 now. A bit of bumping and barging through hairpin 2. But good start there for James Martin, straight into the lead.
It was indeed Andrew Hall Jr. who fell off the road there. He has actually got going again, but relatively quickly. But in a class such as this, he's got it all to do from the back now. As they come round already to complete lap 1, it is going to be James Martin who's held on to the lead, having started pole as they come across the line to complete lap 1. It's James Martin with Matthew Fawkes in 2nd, Stephen Jennings is 3rd, Martin Theodorou 4th, 5th is Mike Townley, 6th Christopher Powell, Stefan Scully is 7th, 8th is William Topp, who's had a brilliant first lap there, up 6 positions. Sammy Venables and Frankie Hedges round out the top 10. The big loser there was Andrew Hall, down 19 places after that first corner incident. As is that Venables challenging through Simon Sweep and Pullmans. I think it might well be. Round they come again through the centre chicane. It's officially a chicane, but as they're 3 wide there, that was Frankie Hedges, Mark Ridout and William Topp going 3 wide up the hill towards Cafe. And they all managed to sort themselves out. Not too many drivers in any form of Club 100 racing who have the skill and experience to go side by side that much into Cafe. There are 2 corners here at Buckmore Park that are blind from the driver's eye view as they approach. It's Simon Sweep and Cafe. And those are the corners where, those are the kind of corners when there's a yellow flag there, you've got to be just that little bit more cautious than other corners. Yellow flag out. Someone's collected the bollards heading up the hill to Garda, but here we are with the number 11 of Sammy Venables there, who's leading Powell onto this lap, and that
it's David Whitehouse.
Indeed, going against Jennings, is that?
Yeah, and James Taylor coming up the inside as well in the yellow and blue helmet.
There's a bit of frustration there from, I think it may have been John Watkins holding his hand out as if to say, what are we doing? But on the whole, this is really good close fighting in the mid-pack here.
There's number 14, and that's the race for 3rd place. In fact, 2nd place with Matthew Fawkes just ahead of Stephen Jennings in the number 14. Martin Theodorou in the blue suit and the white helmet behind him. Here comes your battle then, Howard, for just on the outskirts of the top 10. Mark Ridout's made some good progress so far, up to 10th place. But James Martin leads this one then by 0.7 of a second from Matthew Fawkes. Steve Jennings then a further 0.5 behind. But we saw in the elites, of course, Howard, that a 0.7 gap at this stage of the race can be pulled back.
Absolutely. Not only second place collects the bollards on the way up the hill, though.
And Martin Theodorou goes up the inside of Stephen Jennings, going for third place
battle
there.
For the lead side by side up the hill, Andrew. James Martin had a very big challenge there for Matthew Fawkes, but Fawkes did collect those bollards the way I saw it there. As this top 4 pack, as you say, have a relatively comfortable lead of a couple of seconds. But yeah, the other thing to think of in these classes, it's not just about the fact that they've all got fantastic pace. They're also good strategists when it comes to this sprint racing. You know, there's no point, for example, 3rd and 4th place, losing time battling tooth and nail. It's best to save yourself for the end of the race, as there's yellows through a lot of the final part of the lap. They've just been pulled in.
Guessing that's for the replacement of the bollards.
True.
Sorry.
There was also a yellow at Symes, so I think... Oh, no, I think it was just the track marshal. That's fine. Sammy Venables is starting to catch this pack of 4 at the front, though, I think. We'll see as they come through the time barrier this time.
He's up to 5th place then, 1.3 seconds off Stephen Jennings now. But if this top 4 continue to start fighting amongst each other, Venables, who made his debut in Club 100 at this event last year, he was in the lightweight class 12 months ago, moved up to Clubman to test himself even further. One of my favourites for the title this year.
That is the thing, Andrew, as I was saying, this top 4 aren't fighting amongst themselves too much at the moment. They're playing it smartly and basically following each other. Nevertheless, Venables is setting a blistering pace, and I think he's going to catch them either way. There he is in the number 11 through Cafe Corner. He's got quite a margin over Stefan Scully now.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race by Venables on that one, a 46.747.
Chris Powell's just got past Mike Townley for 7th place, as Paul Jennings has fallen down the order.
But it's still Martin from Fawkes, Theodorou, Jennings, Venables, Scully, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Chris Powell's just got up to 7th place, overtaking Mike Townley. Curb warning for William Top, currently in 10th place on the road. And unfortunately for Paul Jennings, I think he's had a problem on the last lap, a 1:11 first sector time. He's fallen down to the bottom of the order.
Sammy Venables, Andrew, now right on the tail of Stephen Jennings. I think there's going to be pressure here through the hairpins. Venables holds station for the first one. We're looking slightly further at road.
And up the inside there for the lead. Pod-to-pod contact there between Fawkes and Martin. A robust move there by the number 16 is a good opportunity to overtake hairpin 2, because the racing line does tend to leave a big gap open there. And this is now a 5-kart battle for the lead, Howard.
Absolutely. Look for Theodorou looking to capitalise. You can see.
And up the
Martin
inside
goes
comes Venables. Venables up the inside of Jennings, and yes, great move there by Sammy Venables up into 4th place.
Really nice stuff there. Good tactical play as well at the start of that lap from Fawkes, getting past Martin. Just had been waiting for that ideal opportunity, and hairpin 2 is a fantastic place to do an overtake. The conventional racing line does leave you open to attack, and you can now see Martin Theodorou is keen to get past James Martin
penalty.
as well.
Penalty, an ABC bump and pass, and I did wonder with that robust move that the number 16 made 1 lap ago, well, it's been taken as a bump and pass, and Matthew Fawkes will fall down the order now post-race, so effectively your leader is now James Martin again.
But James Martin, of course, doesn't know that yet. They haven't passed the penalty board, so he's going to try up the inside into Garda.
Great move.
And gets it done, and Theodorou wants to follow through, but it's not going to be on there. Oh, and back through goes Fawkes. He too, of course, doesn't know he has the penalty yet. He'll see it as he goes across the line. Theodorou and Martin go side by side here across the line. I'm not sure Matthew Fawkes will have seen the penalty board. He's so focused. And look at Venables now challenging Theodorou. And Jennings wants to get in on this in the red helmet, red and white get up. They go side by side, but Venables will have the inside line for hairpin 2, so it's going to be as you were. And this is also allowing Stefan Scully and Christopher Powell to catch up to the back of them as well.
Well, this is fantastic stuff from the Clubmans, as close as you like. We are now on to the last lap Your leader on the road is Matthew Fawkes, but we know he has a penalty. Can James Martin hold on for this one? Theodore goes defensive. They're all kind of going defensive on each other. And I reckon, Howard, it's going to be Matthew Fawkes on the road, but James Martin's going to take this race win. Up over the hill then. Matthew Fawkes takes it on the line, but has the penalty. James Martin wins the first heat for the Clubman sprints here at Buckmore Park today. Martin Theodore will be classified second, and Sammy Venables on his Clubman debut will be classified third. Good run for Stephen Jennings, fifth on the road. So then Stefan Scully was sixth. Christopher Powell came up quite a way up the grid there from further down in the mid-pack, finishes seventh. Mark Ridout, good start for him in Clubman in eighth. William Topp was ninth. Mike Townley wrapped out the top 10. James Taylor 11th. Andrew Hall Jr. good recovery to 12th place after his unfortunate spin on the first corner. Frankie Hedges was 13th. Christopher Bell was 14th. John Watkins 15th. Simon Lloyd 16th. Andrew Dawson 17th. David Whitehouse in 18th. 19th for Stuart Osborne. 20th for Darrell Lowe. 21st for Lee Kemp. And unfortunately for Paul Jennings, 22nd and a lap down. So good start for the Clubmans there, Howard.
Yeah, that was fantastic racing, and we saw there the good tactical play of these experienced sprint races. It's not all about going out and out necessarily on every single corner. It's worthwhile sitting behind the person in front of you. Obviously, it's about moving forward, but once you've got to that front pack, wait for the ideal opportunity. Don't lose time battling. Fawkes played that well, but then was a bit too robust in the attempt for the lead. So he may rue that particular incident, but fantastic battling there across throughout the top five in particular. There was fantastic battling going on behind them as well. Sammy Venables, I think, was a bit of a standout driver there, coming through the field as he did. Started grid 11 and up 8 places, making him the second biggest mover of the race. John Watkins had a good race as well, up 7 places from 22nd on the grid. So some really good drives there, and I think showing just how good these Clubman races are. It is going to be a really competitive morning of racing with the elites and Clubmans. So we now prepare to go into our third race of the day, which will be Heat 2 of the elite class. Should stress there's 3 heats in each of these classes, so we will have heats. Well, we've had Heat 1 of both classes, we'll now have Heat 2, then Heat 3, and then we'll go into the finals of each class. So it alternates elite Clubmans, and so on. Drivers now on their single practice lap they do, which is more to check basically that the kart is to their liking, no particular issues. What we haven't spoken about so far today, of course, are these new karts, or the new chassis to be precise. As we look for Heat 3 of the elites, so it's going to be Steve Brown on pole, with Jack Bolton alongside him. Chris Dixon and Stephen Hicks will make up row 2. And then it will be Rob Newman and Daniel Truman on row 3. There we go. Row 4 will be Ed Bars and Sam Spinell. Harrison Darville will be in 9th place with Jay Elliott alongside, rounding out the top 10. Then it'll be Jack Harding and Ian Blake on row 6. That's going to be an interesting resumption of their battle from Heat 1 earlier on. Jonathan Lissitor and Tyler Mays make up row 7. Row 8 will be David Longman and Darren Teal. Joe Holmes and Dan Healy line up 17th and 18th respectively. And then it'll be Peter O'Connor and Peter Harris on row 10. And then 21st on the grid will be Rob Buckmore in the number 28.
Interesting one this. Steve Brown was quickest in practice this morning with a 46.381. Bolton as well was up there, 5th fastest this morning in practice, so expect a very, very fast pace from these two drivers on the front row. Brown looking to get his championship back, having won 2 years ago. We're ready for Heat 2 then. Eyes on the lights, and away we go here at Buckmore Park for Elite Sprint Heat 2. And Steve Brown looking over his shoulders is going to look to take the lead, and yes, he does. Chris Dixon was having a good start there, and he's up to second place with Steve Hicks. Steve Hicks, oh, it's off, goes number 9. That's Ed Bars. Didn't even make hairpin 1, but Steve Hicks has made his way through to second place, and then it's Rob Newman and Sam Spinale.
Oh, it's
round goes Bolton, all on his own through hairpin 2. As we're, I think that's 5 or possibly 3, 4 or 5 wide coming out of hairpin 2. But good start there for Steve Brown.
Yeah, Brown's been able to hold on to his lead. You can see there, Stephen Hicks has got himself up to second through a relatively chaotic first lap here in Heat 2. You can see
issues for Chris Dixon. He's fallen down the order.
Yeah, so as they cross the line, it's Steve Brown from Stephen Hicks. Rob Newman's up to 3rd. Sam Spinale 4th. Chris Dixon is 5th. He had a really good start off the line.
So debut for Elite Sprints for Rob Newman. For those of you unaware of his talents, he's the reigning BUKC Drivers' Champion. Races for Sheffield University. Sam Spinale, another BUKC graduate as well. As up the inside, I can see there's the battle there between Hicks and Newman's gone through. Newman into second place, past Steve Hicks.
And Sam Spinale will now start to challenge the back of Hicks.
But great move there from Newman, the number 19, and now these three need to start working together, Howard, to try and catch up Steve Brown. That's going to be easier said than done.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course it does take all 3 drivers complying with that strategy. At the moment though, looks like they are trying to do just that, not let Brown get away with it too easily at the front. Brown though setting a blistering pace at the front, 47.2. Last time round, making it the fastest lap of the race so far. Further back from these drivers, you can see the number 15 of Chris Dixon there with Jack Harding challenging him for 5th as they come up the hill through Cafe Corner onto the Sicily Straight to start another lap into Conway's turn 1 and Henry's Bend turn 2 before the 2 hairpins. There is Harding challenging Dixon for 5th. There's hairpin 1. Well done to the guys on the cameras. I know that camera's been a bit of a problem child for them this morning.
Steve Brown leads though early in this heat, 1.2 seconds clear of Rob Newman, but Rob Newman set a 46.890 on that last lap and is pulling out a bit of a gap now over Steve Hicks. As up the inside of Chris Dixon goes the number 12, that's Jack Harding.
And Holmes has gone up the inside of Harrison Darville as well, behind them for 7th. There they are, heading up the hill now.
So Jack Harding having a good day so far. He's going to look up the inside of Chris Dixon into turn 1. Oh, there's a bit of pod-to-pod contact there. Track limit warning for Chris Dixon, but Harding's through. Really good move there. Forceful move. Had to be really brave on the brakes into turn 1. And he's having a very good day so far. A second place already in Heat 1 we saw earlier in the morning. And he's now up to 5th place in this one.
Steve Brown's trying to respond to the challenge of Rob Newman. He's set a fastest first sector of the race so far. And last time around he set a 46.8. He's really setting a really good pace there as that looks like Dixon and Holmes.
Oh, sorry, Holmes, yeah. So trying to chase down Jack Harding.
Harrison Darville in the 16 still in that fight as well. This is our leader.
New fastest lap for Steve Brown, a 46.739, and there's a cone penalty for Jack Bolton, the number 17.
He's of course already well down the order after that first lap incident or spin at hairpin 2. So frustrating times for him.
Here's the battle over about 13th, 14th place. Rob Moore's involved in there again. He's just got past Tyler Mays. Peter Harris. Oh, Peter Harris running a little bit wide there. Back with the leader now. 3.5 minutes of this one to go. And it's still Steve Brown. Looks good again. He looks good for having a tilt at this championship. 46.6 this time for Brown, but that's just been taken away from him as the fastest lap of the heat. Jay Elliott has just set a 46.5. He's currently in 6th place. He's just taken that position off the number 1.
And this is the thing
of Joe Holmes.
Sorry, Andrew. This is the thing with this class. These drivers are all so quick that you are looking at the tiniest of differences when they're up against each other. Hicks now under quite a bit of pressure from Spinale for 3rd place. This is Steve Brown. There's Rob Newman in the orange helmet, and there is Stephen Hicks with Sam Spinale. Also, as with Rob Newman, Spinale, formerly of the BUKC, the British University's Karting Championship paddock.
The Leaning Tower of Hertfordshire.
He was a driver who very much in damp conditions liked to really shift his weight around in the kart, and it worked for him a lot in his final season in the BUKC. He was, for a large portion of that season, undefeated in sprints, i.e. whatever sprint race he took part in, he won it. So Spinale, a very accomplished driver in Club 100 machinery. Club 100, of course, supplying the karts for the British University's Karting Championship, and it is how a lot of the drivers get into Club 100 these days, but of course open to everybody as they come round. 1 minute 40 seconds left of this one as they swoop in. Something dangling off the back of Sam Spinale's helmet.
Yeah, I think it's a little radio.
Ah, okay. Yeah, some drivers
audio
using
cable.
pit-to-kart radios are permitted in this series in Club 100 racing. I think it's going to have to take something unusual, I think, now for these three to catch Steve Brown, I've got to say.
Yeah, another cone penalty for Jack Bolton, but currently he's down in 20th place, so that's not really going to have any effect on his final race position. As up the inside of Hicks goes Spinale, up into Garda. Great move there by the Hertfordshire University graduate. Very accomplished driver, now up to 3rd place. And we've got rookies for the class in 2nd and 3rd now.
I reckon a couple more laps to go because this one hasn't been declared as the last one. So I think these three drivers have realised now that catching Steve Brown is going to be tough. And now Spinale and Hicks
going defensive as well.
Absolutely,
into hairpin 2 with Spinale.
And it's allowing Newman to pull out ahead of them in the orange helmet.
There's your leader, Steve Brown, the number 3. He's 2.3 seconds clear of Rob Newman now. But this is the battle on circuit for 3rd place. Sam Spinale and Steve Hicks, the 23 and the 21. Hicks, of course, the reigning BUKC Graduates Drivers Champion. But looking to get a good result here after he was excluded in the first heat. On to the last lap then. Steve Brown, barring any disasters, has got this one sewn up. And a first win for him in Club 100 in 2018. Fastest lap of the race just has been set by Jay Elliott. He's having a really strong one in 5th place of 46.479. And he's currently holding off the reigning champion Joe Holmes.
Further down the order, Peter O'Connor and Harrison Darville have just got past Chris Dixon. So good battling happening down in the lower part of the top 10.
But can Spinale hold on to this 3rd place ahead of Steve Hicks? He has a little look over the shoulder. Hicks isn't close enough. But round we come. Here's Steve Brown coming past us in the commentary box. Just saw him flash through the shot there. Steve Brown is going to take Heat 2 in elite sprints here today at Buckmore Park. He does indeed with a 46.463 on the final lap of the race. Rob Newman is going to take 2nd place. Sam Spinale 3rd. 4th for Steve Hicks, 5th for Jay Elliott, 6th for Joe Holmes, 7th for Jack Harding, 8th Peter O'Connor, 9th for Chris Dixon. Harrison Darville wraps out the top 10. Ian Blake, winner of Heat 1, finishes 11th. Dan Truman was 12th. Rob Moore 13th, Jonathan Lister 14th, Daz Teal in 15th. Dan Healy in 16th, Tyler Mays 17th, 18th for Peter Harris, 19th for David Longman, 20th Ed Bars, who had a spin on lap 1, and 21st Jack Bolton.
Another good race there, Andrew. I have to say, we were focusing on the battle for third, but there was a brilliant battle going on between Joe Holmes and Jack Harding over 6th place. They were very close across the line by less than 100th of... excuse me, it was 86 thousandths to be precise. There we go. So that was Heat 2 of the Elite Sprint class. And so that means that already getting ready, in fact already sat in their carts, such is the quick turnaround that is aimed for in Club 100 sprint racing. The Clubmans are in their carts ready to go. And it's a slightly unusual layout here at Buckmore Park, for those not familiar. The pit lane, at least the pit lane used by Club 100 and many of the other racing series, you can see we're looking at start-finish straight at the moment. And to the right, as we look at it, there is a small pit lane which can be used for corporate karting. But most other series use the main paddock, which is down the bottom of the circuit. So the pit lane is not alongside the start-finish straight here, as is quite conventional. In fact, given the elevation change, those down in the pit lane can't actually see the start-finish straight, or indeed any of the first part of the lap through turns 1, 2, and then the hairpins. They only really see them as they come down the hill through Syme Sweep, which can make it a little bit difficult at events such as endurance races, where you want to know what's happening to your fellow teammate. But the elevation change is one of the reasons why this is such a fantastic circuit to drive, and definitely amongst the drivers' favourites. But it doesn't matter about the elevation change, because we've got cameras, so you're not going to miss a thing. The grandstand there as well is a fantastic vantage point. You can see the entire circuit from there.
However, a little chilly today.
It is. I was going to say, those planning to go up there, wrap up warmly, definitely. I think we'll admit, if we were looking for a vantage point to see the whole circuit, that would be a good place for us to commentate from. But we need electricity, and we don't want to get chilly. We were outdoors for round 1 of the Endurance Championship that got underway yesterday, and I can confirm it was nippy. That's a fair way of saying it.
Let's run through a grid then for this second heat in the Clubmans. James Taylor will be on pole position alongside William Top. David Whitehouse is on row 2 with Lee Kemp. Row 3 will be Mark Ridout and Christopher Bell. Row 4, Paul Jennings and Simon Lloyd. Row 5, Andrew Dawson and Darrell Lowe. Row 6, John Watkins and James Martin. Row 7, Andrew Hall Jr. and Stephen Jennings. Row 8 will be Stuart Osborne and Matthew Fawkes. Row 9, Martin Theodorou and Mike Townley. Row 10, Frankie Hedges and Chris Powell. Row 11, Stefan Scully and Sammy Venables. We'll see that grid as it rolls through again. Just to confirm from Heat 1, from Heat 2 of Elites, penalties that we had: Jack Polson 2 positions for knocking over cones and 2 positions for track limits for Chris Dixon. But pretty much apart from that, the order was the same. Brown from Newman, from Spinell, Hicks, Elliott, Holmes. So the grid then going through: Taylor from top, your front row; Whitehouse and Kemp on row 2, Ridout and Bell row 3, Jennings and Lloyd row 4. Just going to check that we are ready for a go. Are we going round again? We're going round again. Let's get that grid back. There it is. So Jennings and Lloyd on row 4. Dawson and Lowe is row 5. John Watkins, who had a pretty good run in the first heat. I'm just going to remind myself where he finished. 15th. Not bad. James Martin alongside him on row 6. Andrew Hall Jr. and Stephen Jennings is row 7. Stephen Jennings had a good run in the first race as well, in 4th place. Work to do in this one though, on this random grid. Stuart Osborne and Matthew Fawkes. Matthew Fawkes almost took the win in Heat 1, but got a penalty. Martin Theodorou, Mike Townley on row 9. We are good for a go then for Heat 2 in Clubman. James Taylor on pole. Watch for the lights, and we're green here and there was something going very wrong there for the number 19 on the even side of the grid. Not a very even start as they come through turn 1, but it's going to be James Taylor leading into hairpin 1. David Whitehouse trying to go around the outside of Mark Ridout there for second place. As the 19's gone into hairpin 2. That's not good for them. That's William Top, who did start on second place there. That's not a good first lap at all for William Top. I think he missed the start, and then he's been turned around at hairpin 2.
And the challenge going on for third place there between
Whitehouse.
the 22.
Whitehouse going very wide there in battle with Lee Kemp.
Yeah, but it was a good start from Ridout. It was actually Ridout going up the inside of hairpin 1, I think. Rather, it was Whitehouse having to go defensive to him. So good start from Ridout, and he's now looking to challenge James Taylor, who is your leader after lap 1. Oh, that was a moment.
Well, yes, he just caught the inside of James Taylor there through Henry's Bend. There's Lee Kemp, the number 22.
David Whitehouse in 4th, just to carry on that order. Paul Jennings in 5th. Simon Lloyd 6th. 7th, Andrew Dawson. Christopher Bell, Andrew Hall Jr. and Frankie Hedges rounds out the top 10. We're looking at the battle for second place between Ridout and Kemp.
Three wide, Howard just behind, going through into Garda. I think that was about Simon Lloyd and Andrew Dawson involved in that one.
It was, and it's Andrew Dawson who's come out the victor amongst that battle.
But James Taylor being caught now by Mark Ridout, Lee Kemp and David Whitehouse. Cone penalty for the number 33, sorry. That's John Watkins. So James Taylor, very experienced around this Buckmore Park circuit, local to this area, I believe.
Look at this.
It's all going on in the midfield.
This is not atypical of this form of racing. It's got to be said. It's close, it's fast, it's frenetic. And we can see now Ridout is all over the back of James Taylor.
He's just biding his time at the moment, is Mark Ridout. Narrowly missed out on being heavyweight sprints champion in 2017, promoted here to the Clubman class for 2018. This would be a great start for him if he could take a race win in Heat 2. Finished 8th in Heat 1.
Just a slight gap as Taylor has to go somewhat defensive into hairpin 2. He's wise to Ridout being there, and Kemp is now beginning to very slightly drop David Whitehouse and get back onto the back of Mark Ridout. So he's ready to pick up the spoils should anything go wrong. 5th is Andrew Dawson with Christopher Bell not far behind him. And then it's basically every man and his dog behind that. So still nice and close in this, the second Clubman heat of the day. Don't forget, whilst these heats do ultimately determine the grids for the, as we look here, Kemp going in the inside of Ridout through turn 1. And Whitehouse looking to buy into this as well. He's up the inside of Ridout for third place into hairpin 1. So Ridout down 2 places in almost as many corners there. But yes, Heat 2, as I say, for the final. The big points championship-wise are on offer in the final, but there are still championship points in this heat. 25 points for the win, and that was a bad line for Kemp through there, and it's allowed everyone bolts up, and it's allowed Ridout to have a go at Whitehouse through Garda, but Whitehouse is going to have the inside line. They're going to be side by side as they head up towards Cafe Corner. We look slightly further down the pack. Taylor looks over his shoulder. He knows that Kemp is right with him. Ridout has somehow has held on to third place, but Dawson has now caught up to them, so it's now a 3-kart battle for third, and he's done that courtesy of the fastest lap of the race so far, a 46.9. Look at this. Whitehouse in the number 12 gets back past Ridout in hairpin 2, and you can see the Union flag on the back of Dawson's helmet there. He's ready to buy into this fight, definitely.
Good news for Taylor and Kemp as well, because it's allowed them to bridge a little bit of a gap to third and fourth. But at the moment, for me, Howard, Lee Kemp looking like the quickest driver out there, and James Taylor backing the rest of this pack up into a bigger clump of cars.
Yeah, and you could see the number 6 of Christopher Bell and the 18 of Simon Lloyd in 6th and 7th place have also caught up to the back of this. So if this continues to close up any more, you're looking at a 7-car fight at the front of the field. Though there is a tiny gap there between Kemp in 2nd and Whitehouse in 3rd. And look at this, number 15 of Dawson gets past Ridout in hairpin 2. And now Ridout is in the clutches of Christopher Bell. It's not been a good few laps for Mark Ridout. He had a fantastic start to this heat, getting himself up to 2nd place, but he's dropped back progressively over the last few laps, as there's a warning for William Top. Not coming up on our timing as to what that warning's for.
I imagine it was for track limits.
Yeah, you will see the drivers, by the way, running over the red paint on the outside. They can dip the tyres onto it. It's if you put all 4 wheels over the white line at the edge of the circuit. So you will see them trying to optimise their line by putting half of their tyres onto that red paint. It's all about judging the margins correctly such that you don't put all 4 wheels off the circuit.
David Whitehouse has closed right onto the back of Lee Kemp. You can see him there in the number 12 Kart and the white suit. This would be a real confidence booster for Whitehouse if he could get a result here in this race. But it's still James Taylor who's led since lap 1. And up the inside goes David Whitehouse and through and into 2nd place. A fantastic move there by Whitehouse. And now there's the finger to say, come on, boys, let's get on with this. Let's get James Taylor. And as we're going on to 90 seconds to go of this race. Whitehouse going defensive for Kemp, but that was a fantastic move from David Whitehouse.
Brilliant stuff. Sorry for cutting across there, Andrew. Dawson is trying to buy into this as well. He had a very good line up the hill but couldn't do anything with it. And he tries up the inside, indeed, of hairpin 2 and gets past Lee Kemp there, I believe. So change there for 3rd place as we look at James Taylor leading leading.
Yeah, you're right.
It is David Whitehouse. Down through the hill they go, through Simon Sweep and Pullmans into Paddock. They'll come up the hill to Garda. You can see Taylor looking over his shoulder, judging where everybody is. And Andrew Dawson has really come good at the end of this heat as well, up to 3rd now. And he looks, to be honest with you, like he's ready to challenge for this win overall. Again, Taylor looks over his shoulder as they come onto the last lap. Oh, Whitehouse has a look, but it's not on there. Will that leave him vulnerable to Dawson into hairpin 1? They hold station for now, but hairpin 2 is going to provide a more typical overtaking opportunity. Leader goes defensive through there, and it's as you were amongst the top 3, indeed amongst the top 7.
The opportunity's going to be into Garda. James Taylor's been pretty strong though on this bottom half of the circuit. Yeah, I can see him bridging a bit of a gap there through Symes. Is he going to go defensive? No. Is anyone going to throw it up the inside? Yes. Dawson's going to have a look for 2nd place. They're side by side. And Dawson's not going to take 2nd place. Or is he? This is brilliant racing up to the line. James Taylor's going to take the win. But who's going to take 2nd place? It's going to be David Whitehouse. My goodness me. David Whitehouse takes 2nd place by must have been at most half a kart length. That was a fantastic end to the race, but James Taylor, what a drive, what a defensive drive under so much pressure, Howard, takes the race win in Heat 2. David Whitehouse was 2nd, he'll be overjoyed with that. 3rd place for Andrew Dawson, 4th for Lee Kemp, 5th for Mark Ridout, 6th Simon Lloyd, 7th Christopher Bell, 8th for Andrew Hall Jr. That's a good result for him after a disappointing Heat 1. 9th for Paul Jennings, another driver having a good recovery there after a not so good Heat 1. 10th for John Watkins, 11th Frankie Hedges, 12th for Sammy Venables, 13th Matthew Fawkes, 14th for Darrell Lowe, 15th Martin Theodoru, 16th James Martin, 17th Stefan Scully, 18th Stephen Jennings, 19th for Chris Powell, 20th for Stuart Osborne, 21st for William Top, and 22nd for Mike Townley.
Well, considering that a change for position is technically only official if it's measured across the line, that must have been one of the most dramatic laps of Buckmore I've seen, where there was technically no change for position because they actually all crossed the line to finish the race in the same order that they'd started that lap, as far as I'm aware. But nevertheless, there was plenty of battling going on to the air. That had a brilliant crescendo to it, that heat. And as Andrew was saying, it's James Taylor who takes the 25 points in the championship there. Really good stuff, showing there the Clubmans, why the standard is so high and is known for being so high amongst these two classes, the elites and the Clubmans. Fantastic race there. And speaking of the elites, we're going to go into their final heat, which will help decide the grid order for their final. So it's random grids, just to clarify, for these heats, randomly generated such that across all three heats each driver has the same average grid spot. Those then determine, the results of those then determine what order they're in for the final. The final is where the big points run off at 25 points, as we've been saying, for a heat win, but 150 for a win in the final. So that is the big the big letter race, the race that everyone wants to do well in. And championship points aside, it is of course what determines trophies as well. And who doesn't love a trophy? So the elites with their red number plates taking to the circuit for their third heat of the day. And we can go ahead with a grid for this heat. So it's going to be Rob Moore starting on pole with Jay Elliott alongside. Peter Harris and Harrison Darville will start on row 2. And there's going to be Peter O'Connor and Sam Spinell on row 3. Sam Spinell, of course, his things are still getting a few things together here in the Cosmos. Dan Healy and Ed Bars will be on row 4. Ed Bars will be looking for a better heat this time after he got around 2 corners last heat before an incident occurred and he was left in the wall, so he'll be looking to improve. Joe Holmes will be in 9th with Daniel Truman starting 10th. Daz Teal will start 11th with Rob Newman, who had a really strong outing earlier on in Heat 2. He'll be 12th. David Longman will start 13th, and Stephen Hicks, another key protagonist from the race earlier on, he'll start 14th. Tyler Mays and Chris Dixon will make up row 8. And then it will be Jonathan Lister and Jack Bolton. Bolton will also be looking to have a better heat. He had a first lap incident in Heat 2, but they ran out the 9th row of the grid. Ian Blake and Steve Brown will be the 10th row. Steve Brown, of course, winning the heat we saw earlier on, and then it will be Jack Harding rounding out the 21 kart grid, starting on row 11 by himself. So the karts on their roll-up laps now, forming up the grid. Because these are direct drive karts, we can't do standing starts because the kart engines would stall if they come to a stop. That's why if you see drivers coming to a stop, you'll see them have to get out of the kart to right their kart and get bump started. So we have to do a rolling start. I say have to, I quite like it. I prefer rolling starts, as we're going to have another lap of rolling up. You can see the pace kart there, the larger kart, the Club 100 staff member in the yellow and black striping on them. Their job is to be the pace kart, of course, in this situation, but if the karts do come to a stop, are stalled and spun out, once the driver has got out of the kart and corrected the way it's facing, that pusher kart comes and gives them a bump start so that they can get underway again. We're looking good for a start here then in Heat 3. Rob Moore then it'll be, with Jay Elliott alongside. Rob Moore in the 28, Jay Elliott in the 8. The engine notes rise as we're racing in Heat 3 here of the elites. Both sides of the grid getting away well relative to last heat, and everybody vying for positions. The number 6 of Peter O'Connor going for the lead there. Has it paid off? Yes, it has. He's up to the lead. Rob Moore defending against Joe Holmes, who's had a fantastic start. Oh, into the wall that was Tyler Mays was involved in that. and Chris Dixon, I believe. Oh no, sorry, Daniel Truman it was in the wall, wasn't it? Yeah, the white and black helmet. So drama there out of hairpin 2. Disaster there for Truman. But the rest of the field streams through to complete lap 1. So it's Peter O'Connor who had a really good start there, ahead of Rob Moore, Joe Holmes, who's had an amazing first lap, getting up 6 positions there. Jay Elliott is 4th, Dan Healy's 5th, 6th Darren Teal, Sam Spinell 7th, 8th is Ed Bars, 9th Harrison Darville, and Peter Harris rounds out the top 10. It was indeed Daniel Truman involved in that incident out of hairpin 2. You can see Jack Bolton trying to work his way up through the field. We are looking at your leaders, and there we can see Jay Elliott, Joe Holmes and Dan Healy battling out behind them. Rob Moore has managed to fix onto the back of O'Connor to follow him through up the hill. Jay Elliott, the winner of the battling that we saw behind our 2 leaders there. So Jay Elliott now up to 3rd place. Joe Holmes is 4th, 5th Daz Teal, Sam Spinell 6th, and Dan Healy has just gone down to 7th. There's a challenge for the lead. Rob Moore trying to go through on O'Connor. O'Connor didn't look too happy with that. He did end up all 4 wheels on the red paint, and I think he felt that Moore was a bit harsh there, pushing him onto it. But Moore it is who leads, and that little battle as well has allowed Jay Elliott in the white helmet and suit in the number 8. He's got onto the back of them, and don't count out Holmes in the number 1, our reigning champion. As for the lead, O'Connor goes back up the inside of Moore through turns 1 and 2, and Jay Elliott tries to follow through. They're going to both have the inside line, and that's going to be Rob Moore down 2 positions again in about 2 corners. Such is the style of this kind of racing. If one person goes through, you can very often get mugged by several, and now it's Jay Elliott following Peter O'Connor, down the hill through Simon Sweep and the left-hander at Pullman's into paddock. There's yellows out for the latter part of the lap.
Oh, Moore's one wide.
Not a good lap for Rob Moore, and he's now falling into the clutches of Daz Teal and Joe Holmes.
Well, Joe Holmes has got through as there was that mistake through paddock corner, reigning champion out to 3rd place, but Jay Elliott, he's had his breakfast this morning. He's going up the inside and for the lead. Brilliant move by Jay Elliott, but he's having an absolute stormer so far today. He was fastest in Heat 2, made his way through the field very well, and now leads here in Heat 3.
Fantastic racing. It's about an 8 or 9 kart battle for the lead of this race effectively at this point, with Jay Elliott at the head of the field now as they go downhill. He's been one position further ahead each time he's got to this downhill section for the last few laps, has Jay Elliott. He's really on fire now, and he's trying to break the toe, and Holmes goes through on Peter O'Connor as well, and now Rob Moore tries to get back at O'Connor.
And it's got him. Oh, Sam Spinell's getting involved in there in the 23, I think it is.
Yep, absolutely.
Dan Healy as well. New paint job on Dan Healy's helmet there in the number 5. He's had a fairly quiet morning so far, but he's looking for a good position in this one. But it's Rob Moore leading this pack now in 3rd place. Up the inside goes Daz Teal on Pete O'Connor. Pete runs very wide out of hairpin 2. He needs to be careful with that in terms of track limits. But this is all for trying to get a good grid position in the elite final later this morning. Contact warning for Darren Teal. Rob Moore looks over his shoulder, goes defensive into Garda.
And Spinell to the inside through Garda, Andrew.
And I think he's got
him. There. And he goes very wide in the battle with Darren Teal.
Steve Brown's involved in there as well, the number 3, champion from 2 years ago.
And this battle is allowing the front runners to pull away somewhat. I think Rob Moore, though, is challenging Joe Holmes.
And up the inside of Spinell goes Steve Brown. Steve Brown through, now trying to get past Healy as they go through hairpin 2.
It wasn't Holmes that Moore was battling with. It's Moore versus O'Connor again for I think about the 3rd time this race. So they're locked into battle over 3rd place. Meanwhile, Joe Holmes is the only person at the moment holding on to the back of Jay Elliott, who's setting blistering pace at the head of this field.
46.6 last time around for Jay Elliott.
But it's not actually the fastest. Steve
No.
Brown setting impressive pace at the moment.
But the gap closing down, the champion closing in on Jay Elliott. Joe Holmes so far today an 8th and a 6th place in Heats 1 and Heat 2, but here he is fighting for the lead. Just over 2 minutes in this one to go, so still a few laps for Joe Holmes to make a move on Jay Elliott. Jay has had 2 5th places so far this morning, so he's getting himself in a good position here, Howard, for a decent grid slot for that final later on this morning.
Absolutely. We look slightly further back. This is the likes of Daz Teal, Daniel Healy, and Steve Brown has had a good heat so far getting up the order. He's now in the thick of it in that pack of karts we just saw flashing through shot.
Peter Harris, by the way, has had a problem. He's off the back of the field, as has Dan Truman. But up the inside of Teal goes Healy. Healy looking into hairpin one and gets through. And Steve Brown cheekily sticks his nose in there as well and gets the position. So 2 positions lost for Daz Teal there.
Spinell now will try and get the cut back on Daz Teal, but I don't think it's going to be on there. Truman, of course, was involved in that first lap incident coming out of hairpin 2, which also affected Tyler Mays.
Track limit warning for the leader. Really a lot of pressure now coming from Joe Holmes, the reigning champion. There's Rob Moore, who's doing a fantastic job to hold on to this 3rd place at the moment, making his Elites debut here today. The super heavyweight champion from 2 years ago. 3rd place in Clubman last season. Here he is in the Elites, right in the thick of the action.
And just up the road from them as well, you'll see them flash through shot, excuse me, right there. That's the battle for the lead, Joe Holmes, and challenge for 3rd place, Andrew. O'Connor up the inside of Moore, was that?
Yeah, it was indeed.
It was an attempt, but Moore's held on to it. This has really been a very tight battle between Rob Moore and Peter O'Connor throughout this race. And Joe Holmes to the lead through that section. He's got past Jay Elliott. Change of lead there. So our reigning champion in the Elites goes to the head of the field and leads Jay Elliott up the hill to go on to the last lap. Goes defensive. Jay Elliott has had a sterling effort this heat. He's going to try every which way to go past, and Holmes is going to go defensive. This is a fantastic battle over the lead of this race, and everyone else is having a brilliant battle behind them. But Holmes has played this brilliantly, springing at the last minute pretty much to take the lead of this one. He'll lead Jay Elliott through the S's, down through Symes Sweet and Pullmans. There is sometimes an opportunity on at Paddock, but the main overtaking opportunity for Jay Elliott is going to be up the hill now towards Garda. Holmes is going to be wise to it. I don't think he even had to go particularly defensive. Teal and Spinell having a battle further down the order, but it's going to be Joe Holmes coming up the hill, your reigning champion in Elite, who takes the Heat 3 win ahead of Jay Elliott. Rob Moore will come home in 3rd ahead of Peter O'Connor. Steve Brown finishes 5th. Dan Healy will be 6th. Daz Teal 7th. 8th will be Sam Spinell. Ed Barrs 9th. 10th is Stephen Hicks. Ian Blake will be 11th. 12th, Jack Harding. Jack Bolton finishes 13th. David Longman 14th. 15th will be Jonathan Lissitter. Rob Newman finishes 16th. Harrison Darville finishing 17th. Tyler Mays finishes 18th. Chris Dixon 19th. Daniel Truman 20th, and Peter Harris, as we said earlier, has had some form of lap. Amazing pace being set in that race, Andrew. Steve Brown, our Heat 2 winner, who eventually finished 5th, a 46.158.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that is the fastest lap we've seen here at Buckmore Park this weekend. But look at that, the top 12 covered by 4.4 seconds, but it's Joe Holmes, reigning champion, first win in the sprints for 2018, winning from Jay Elliott. Rob Moore, good drive that from Rob, in 3rd. Pete O'Connor was 4th, Steve Brown up to 5th, Dan Healy 6th, Daz Teal in 7th, Sam Spinell had some good scraps out there, finishing 8th. 9th place for Ed Barrs, 10th for Steve Hicks, 11th Ian Blake, 12th Jack Harding. So that was your top group that was battling there for those top positions. Then it was another bit of a group with Jack Bolton in 13th, Dave Longman in 14th, Jonathan Lissitter 15th, Rob Newman 16th, Harrison Darville 17th, Tyler Mays 18th, Chris Dixon 19th, and then Dan Truman and Peter Harris Peter Harris, sorry, 20th and 21st.
Do keep your comments coming in on the Facebook stream. Good conversation going on here. You and Greenies asks, what is the difference between the two classes? Luke Hornsby has already written a brilliant answer to that, but just to confirm, elites are the creme de la creme of Club 100 karting, with Clubman's the tier just below them. Drivers who are progressing up from lightweights and heavyweights up to Clubman's, and then they eventually, if they're successful enough, move up to the elites. And it's the Clubmans now who we see taking to the track with their yellow number plates. And I think we are ready to go through the grid for this, the final of the heat races today. In fact, I'll take you through it. Fair enough, mate. Sammy Venables it will be, who will start from pole with John Watkins alongside. Stefan Scully and Darrell Lowe will make up row 2. Christopher Powell will start 5th, and Andrew Dawson, who had a very good second heat, he will start 6th on the grid. Frankie Hedges and Simon Lloyd make up row 4. Simon Lloyd was tweeting a picture of him grinning before his first heat earlier on. Not sure the grin translated well with a helmet on his head, but it was good to see him using the hashtag Club100. Mike Townley and Paul Jennings will be on row 5. I could tell it was a cheesy grin, so under the helmet, it was fine. Townley and Jennings ran out the top 10. Martin Theodoru and Christopher Bell will make up row 6. Matthew Fawkes and Mark Ridout are row 7. Stuart Osborne and Lee Kemp. Lee Kemp, another driver who's at the sharp end of the field in the last Clubman heat. Those two drivers will make up row 8. Stephen Jennings and David Whitehouse will be row 9. Row 10 will be Andrew Hall Jr. And William Topp. And then rounding out the grid, row 11 will be James Martin and James Taylor for this 22 kart grid. Drivers just forming up now into grid formation, ready for this final heat. Final opportunity to accrue points to get themselves the optimum grid position for the all-important final. Still 25 championship points on offer here, and that goes down in increments of 1, by the way, so it's 25 for the win, 24 for second, and so on and so forth down the order. Look then and see if they're ready for a start. Looks like they're going to go round one more time. I have to say, I'm sure the drivers are somewhat relieved coming to Buckmore Park in February that they're getting dry weather. Andrew?
Just to confirm the results from Elite Heat 3, it was, as you were, provisionally the one penalty being Harrison Darville relegated to the back of the order for a +4 positions for an ABC, gaining a single place through contact. We'll await the grid for that Elite final after this one.
Good stuff. Venables has had some fantastic drives so far today. We've seen him come up through the order, and now he's going to get a pole start. So what can he do? I think he's going to be a difficult one to beat here, but there's 21 drivers who would like to have a go. Looks like we're going around another time, so taking a little while to get ready. Oh yeah, we can see there, not quite in the right grid formation, James Taylor there in the middle. Some negotiations going on there on rolling up between James Taylor and David Whitehouse. Looks like we're going to be good for the off either way. They've all sorted themselves out. Pace Kart will pull off to one side. Sammy Venables starts on pole, on driver's right, left as we look at it, as the engine notes rise, and we're racing in the final heat of the day. Venables holds on to it, going into turn 1, but Scully's going to try and get past Watkins in the first set of corners. Venables goes somewhat defensive and happy one. Oh, and there's driver around in the mid-pack. And the number 4 of
Chris Powell.
Powell, he's also trying to go competitive here. But it is Venables who is leading this one down the hill, with Scully second as they come through the latter part of the lap now.
I think the spinner might have been the number 13 of Frankie Hedges.
Yeah.
Oh, is the cone's gone?
Yeah, as in the white and blue bollards. Cone penalty is a sort of general term for hitting tyre barriers, cones. As Venables having to go defensive here against Stefan Scully, and John Watkins in the 33s, and he's through. Through on Venables goes Scully, and John Watkins is right there with the white helmet as well to try and pick up the pieces here. So Venables now has the difficult job of defending and attacking. It was indeed Frankie Hedges who was your spinner at hairpin 1 on lap 1. It's it's now Stefan Scully, then Sam Venables, John Watkins, Andrew Dawson, Mike Townley, Darrell Lowe, Matthew Fawkes, Stephen Jennings, Andrew Hall Jr. and Chris Powell round out the top 10. As Scully now sets about trying to break the toe of Venables, and he may well get there because Venables has John Watkins and Andrew Dawson all over the back of him, and they've got a bit of a lead. Mike Townley's quite close as well. Darrell Lowe, it is up to 5th now, and he's having a bit of a quiet one. We look further back at the battle. This is
Townley.
That's Townley, isn't it?
Through. Oh, it's actually Townley falling down.
Matthew Fawkes. I was going to say Townley is falling down the order here, and Jennings there on the inside of Andrew Hall. So fantastic battling going throughout the field. We're now looking at the battle for second because Stefan Scully has got a bit of a gap. You can see there in the 21 car. Venables is under a lot of pressure here from Andrew Dawson, who goes up the inside. Beautiful move into Garda, and John Watkins is trying to get a good run up the hill. He's going to get the cut back, but I don't think he's going to have any room to do anything with it. Brilliant move from Andrew Dawson there, and Watkins goes to the inside of Venables, but it's not going to be on there, and he's got to be careful because Darrell Lowe is caught up to the back of this now. So it's a 4-car battle for second place, which is allowing Scully to get off up the road ahead of them. Venables took a tight-ish line through hairpin 2 to sort of both attack and defend there, but nothing was on. You can see there that I think is that Jennings, who's got towards the front of the battle going on behind, is the number 14.
He's trying to tell the drivers behind we need to work together here. The number 9 now. Well, the number 9 was pointed to the 14 to say the 14 clipped the. I think he might have just caught it with the back end of the cart there. Yeah. Did Jennings?
And Andrew Hall Jr., who's in the number 9 there, who I think made contact with those bollards. Look at this, the number 2 and 3. Going side by side. That's James Martin attacking Mike Townley.
James Martin, of course, won Heat 1.
Oh, and
16th in Heat 2.
We've got to keep an eye on the battle for second place here, Andrew, because it's for third place.
Oh, Jennings has gone. Jennings has spun. I just saw him through the shot there at hairpin 2. And, oh dear, Stephen Jennings, there he is in the red helmet and the red suit, is out.
Meanwhile, there is a lot of drama going on in the battle over third place.
Up the inside goes 19. That's William Top making his way past James Martin. Martin fights back, and Mark Ridout's in there as well. 3 wide into Cafe simply doesn't work. Have they all made it through there? Well, just about. My goodness me, my heart was in my mouth there.
I have to say there's drama up front as well. The battle for third is raging up the road here. Darrell Lowe has now got himself up to third place ahead of John Watkins and Sammy Venables. So we've got to keep an eye on that. Andrew Dawson as well is setting blistering pace. He's got the fastest lap of the race, trying to catch Stefan Scully at the front. So we've got a battle for the lead developing. The battle over third has actually separated out somewhat. Now with Darrell Lowe, this is Sammy Venables and Matthew Fawkes now battling over 5th place. Venables, of course, started this race from pole. Stefan Scully starts another lap. Andrew Dawson has got the gap down again on that lap. It's now at 1.4 seconds. Darrell Lowe is in third place. John Watkins 4th. Sammy Venables 5th with Matthew Fawkes 6th. And then the battle for everything else is an open fight now. Fastest lap of the race just set by Darrell Lowe. He's going to try and get onto the back. We didn't see his move to get past John Watkins and Sammy Venables, unfortunately, but he's now setting about trying to catch up to Andrew Dawson, who in turn is trying to catch up with Stefan Scully. This is another one, Andrew, which could be crescendoing up to a fantastic finish here as we've got 2.5 minutes to go.
Absolutely. So Stefan Scully leads by just under a second and a half. Make that 1.1 seconds. Andrew Dawson is closing in at about 0.3 a second, but the man on the charge at the moment is the number 10. Darrell Lowe has just set a 46.879, and he's also pulling the 33 of John Watkins along with him. Here we're looking at the battle for 7th place. This is Andrew Hall Jr. in the number 9 kart and Christopher Powell in the number 4. Second year for Christopher Powell in the Clubman class. And so far this morning he's had race finishes of 7th and 19th.
This is the man on the move, Darrell Lowe in the number 10 with his blue helmet, black suit. He's been setting blistering lap times the last few laps. John Watkins is trying to stay with him though, and you can see there the battle between Venables and Fawkes over 5th is still going. Venables looks over his shoulder, but he needs to look to the other side as there's a cone penalty for Fawkes, but Fawkes right now is focusing on going up the inside of Venables. He's going to have the inside line at the hairpin. Is Venables going to be able to cut back at him and have something on for hairpin 2? He thinks about it clearly, but Fawkes has the upper hand, but has unfortunately got a cone penalty, so that's going to be applied post-race and affect his overall result. Nevertheless, though, fantastic battling going on between these two.
1 minute to go then in this final heats race of the day. This is the Clubman Sprints. Who's going to get that pole position for the final later on? I say this afternoon now. It's gone past 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
But Stefan Scully currently leading the race. There's Darrell Lowe. He needs a good result here because he's had 20th and 14th for his first two. That's the 21. They're off the pace. No, that's the leader. Sorry.
He's very much on the pace.
He is on the pace. Apologies, folks. Darrell Lowe has just set a 46.625. But Stefan Scully now leads by less than a second. Looking fairly comfortable.
Fantastic battle for 7th going on between Hall, Powell and Taylor further back.
But here's Stefan Scully. Sorry, we've not seen him that much this race.
No, to be fair,
completely forgotten what he looked like.
We haven't had to look at him very much because he's been doing such a fantastic job at the front of the field. So
just going to cross the line before the timer hits 0. So this is now the last lap for these drivers. Darrell Lowe is flying a 46.574. Change for 5th there. Venables back ahead of Fawkes.
And look at this battle for 7th as well.
This is Chris Powell coming through. James Taylor's getting involved there in the white and blue helmet, the number 29. Powell goes defensive into hairpin 2. Taylor up the inside. Great move there by James Taylor.
Clearly Andrew Hall Jr. not too happy about something there.
Well, Andrew Hall could put his hand up all he liked, but for me that was just a simple hairpin 2 manoeuvre. James Taylor saw the gap, went for the gap and took the position.
Meanwhile, we've got to look for Stefan Scully.
Oh, wide goes Powell.
Scully is coming up the hill. He's going to round Cafe and take the win. And it was actually, in the end, extremely close for 2nd place as well. Darrell Lowe would have loved a few more laps of that race because his amazing pace was continuing. But it's Stefan Scully who wins Heat 3 ahead of Andrew Dawson, Darrell Lowe. John Watkins finishes in 4th. Sammy Venables 5th after some very intense battling with Matthew Fawkes. Matthew Fawkes finishes 6th on the road, but we know he has a penalty for taking out a cone. James Taylor has bragging rights over 7th place after an amazing battle with Andrew Hall Jr. and Christopher Powell, who finished 8th and 9th respectively. James Martin finishes 10th, Mark Ridout 11th, 12th was William Topp, Mike Townley was 13th, 14th was Martin Theodora, Lee Kemp finished 15th, Simon Lloyd 16th, 17th was Christopher Bell, Paul Jennings was 18th, 19th David Whitehouse, 20th was Stuart Osborne, Stephen Jennings finished 21st and 22nd. We saw him involved in a spin, wasn't it, on lap 1. That was Frankie Hedges in the number 13. That's it. That's all of the heat racing for the elite and clubmans, and indeed for the day, because we don't heat and finals format for the classes race in the afternoon.
Hello to everybody on the Facebook comments. We can see them coming in now, so that's fantastic. Janius, apologies if I've pronounced your name wrong, says Darrell is on a mission. He definitely was in that last race.
Yeah.
Shame for him he didn't have the best Heat 1 and Heat 2.
Yeah.
20th, 14th and 3rd then for Lowe.
Yeah.
But this Clubman Final grid's going to be very interesting because I'm not seeing anybody having... everyone's had at least one race in the teens in terms of a finish position. So, you know, if I take someone like Sammy Venables, for example, a 3rd and 5th in races 1 and 3, good, but then a 12th in Heat 2. So this is going to be a really, really tightly packed final for the Clubmans, and I can't wait to see how it pans out.
That building is where we are, the clubhouse here at Buckmore Park. We are now looking to go into our finals. The big races of this morning and early afternoon's running. Andrew?
We're going to try something new. We're going to try something new here at Alpha Live because we've got a double broadcast going on today. We've got some action from Wilton Mill Kart Club that you can see on the bottom right of your picture. So particularly at lunchtime for us, when we'll go away for a little bit whilst the lightweights and heavyweights have a test session, do go over to Wilton Mill Kart Club's Facebook page. Give it a follow as well because you've got MSA action at Wilton Mill Kart Club going on all day. Round 2 of their championship. That's one that I'll be watching when I get back home, Howard.
Absolutely fantastic. And I can see fantastic action just on that brief shots we're seeing now amongst the I-Armies, the X30 Minis.
Fantastic entries in at Wilton Mill Kart Club as well. Really, really good to see interest and everyone getting involved. It's just what MSA karting needs.
Absolutely, and lovely to see the conditions are nice there as well.
Yes.
Good conditions for racing across England, it would seem, today.
Oh, good move that.
We've got to stop commentating. Don't start commentating. We've got... We need to avoid commentating on something already being commentated on. Chris McCarthy, it is doing the commentary duties for that. So, as the elites head out for their finals race of the day, we are going to try and get a grid for you for this final race. There will be 3 practice laps ahead of this one.
Here we go then. So I do have a grid on the screen now. Apologies, we won't be able to show the graphic up, but just to get this out of the way. On pole position for this elite sprint final for round 1 for Club 100 2018, Steve Brown, champion from 2 years ago, will be on pole position. Alongside him on that front row will be Jay Elliott. Row 2 will be a combination of our reigning champion Joe Holmes and Jack Harding. Row 3, another former champion, Ian Blake, will line up alongside Sam Spinale. Row 4 will be Steve Hicks and Daz Teal. That'll be an interesting one. Row 5, Peter O'Connor, and Robert Newman. Row 6 will be Daniel Healy and Rob Moore. Good result that for Rob on his elite debut. Let's see what he can do from the middle of the pack. Row 7 will be Jonathan Lissiter and Ed Bars. Row 8 will be Daniel Truman and Chris Dixon. Row 9 will be Harrison Darville and Dave Longman. Row 10 will be Jack Bolton. Expect to see Jack maybe coming through the field a little bit, and Peter Harris. And then last on the grid is Tyler Mays in 21st. So interesting grid that.
This is going to be a good one, isn't it, mate? This is, as we say, the top flight of Club 100 karting going head-to-head in the final for the first round of this year's championship.
Longer races in the finals as well. 10 minutes instead of 8 minutes as we had in the heats.
Oh, practically. That's such a long race. Sorry. Of course, it's
great. More action.
Exactly. No, absolutely. Yes. Having to get used to quite how short these races are, Andrew, after the longer races that were here yesterday in the endurances and quadrants. But we do love the sprint racing. It's fast, it's frenetic, and as I've been saying, we've got to be careful because you can often, if you drop one position, you might find yourself dropping second because there's usually everybody waiting to go past you. It certainly feels that way.
Bit of history going back to this race last year. The winner was Steve Brown from Ray Norris and Jack Harding. Dan Healy finished 4th. in this final last year for round 1. We always have round 1 at Buckmore Park.
Yep.
Normally the weather is not as good as this. It's always cold.
It's always lovely here.
It's always cold, but not as sunny normally, so we're not complaining. It's fantastic conditions.
I have been here in the middle of summer and can confirm it does get warm and sunny at the same time. But we love Buckmore Park. It's a fantastic layout here. As I said several times today, for many drivers, this is one of their favourites, if not their favourite. The elevation change, the lovely sequence of corners that they're just going through now, through the S's, and the downhill section through Sime Sweet, Pullmans and into Paddock. It's so good to hook that up in one of these Club 100 karts.
So if you just joined us, welcome. This is live Club 100 action from Buckmore Park, just outside Chatham in Kent. This is your elite sprint final. The top drivers in Club 100 racing battling for that share of 150 points for the 2018 Elite Sprint Championship. Steve Brown, former champion from 2 seasons ago and elite final winner here at Buckmore Park last year, will start this race from pole position. There he is, you can see the number 3 in the black suit and the white helmet with the GoPro on his chin. Will start this race from pole position alongside Jay Elliott in second, who's been very, very rapid through the course of the day. Our reigning champion, Joe Holmes, will start P3. Jack Harding will start P4. In fact, Harding, I think we're just waiting to see him form up. I think we're going to go around again. Yep. We are indeed, because there he is. Harding's coming through shot now to take his 4th position. Watch out for Ian Blake as well, 2014 champion, runner-up last year. Great to see him here. There he is. I'm going there, Mr. Hicks. Thank you very much.
As clear a gesture as you'll ever see for where he needs to go.
So Ian Blake will start P5. Sam Spinale, BUKC racer, great to see him here in Elites, will start P6. Steve Hicks will start P7. Daz Teal, P8. Peter O'Connor and Rob Newman wrapping out the top 10. Looks like we're ready for a start then. This should be a thrilling 10 minutes around Buckmore Park as the nerves rise for the drivers. Eyes on the lights, they're red, they're green. We're racing in the elites. It's round 1 final for 2018, and it looks like Steve Brown's going to take the lead into turn 1. Holmes is trying to fight through into second place, and I think he's going to grab it. And in fact, Holmes going up the inside of Brown through hairpin 1. And yes, Brown's going to lead through hairpin 2. So it's your 3 former champions, 1, 2, 3, as we come into the second half of lap 1.
Well, fantastic start there, as you say, Andrew, for Joe Holmes and Ian Blake. Steve Brown down to second now.
Yes.
So Holmes has got through. How did he manage that through that section of track? That was a fantastic move. So it's currently Joe Holmes now to the head of the field, ahead of Steve Brown and Ian Blake.
And Jay Elliott's still there in 4th place as well.
Yeah, he's been able to hold on.
Daniel Healy has had an absolute stormer on lap 1. He's gone from P11 to P5. Absolutely stunning stuff from the youngster, the former lightweight champion. Brilliant first lap there.
Something happened to Tyler Mays on that first lap. He's dropped around about 8 seconds off the back of the field, so not what he would have wanted. But look at this, Holmes under pressure from Steve Brown down the hill through Sime Sweep and Pullmans. And there's Jay Elliott and Dan Healy challenging Ian Blake for 3rd behind them. Jay Elliott going defensive against Daniel Healy and perhaps also aggressive at the same time against Blake. Up the hill they come then, round Cafe Corner onto the Sicily Straight to start another lap. You see them using as much of that red painted area off to the driver's left as they are allowed to without contravening the track limit rules. And look at that, Jay Elliott up the inside of Ian Blake for 3rd place. Side by side into hairpin 2 here, but Jay Elliott and Ian Blake now defending against Dan Healy. So Jay Elliott up to 3rd place, and he'll now look to try and get onto toes with Steve Brown and Joe Holmes at the front of this field. Through paddock they go. Ian Blake still under pressure from Healy. Will Healy try anything into what is broadly speaking, the last overtaking opportunity on the track at Garda, and then they come through Senna, up the hill and through Cafe. Jonathan Lister and Jack Harding having a really good battle over 6th place as well as they start another lap. And of course, look at this battle as well. That is Darren Till leading an amazing train of karts for 9th place. As look at that, oh, round goes, and we cut to the shot quite quickly. I didn't quite see who that was. Is that Ian Blake? I think
it's either Ian Blake or Steve Brown.
I think Ian Blake and Dan Healy, I think, was involved in that. But Blake is round. And that's gutting for him. He'll be massively disappointed with that. Meanwhile, at the front here, Joe Holmes still under pressure from Steve Brown. And it is Dan Healy who's got up to 3rd place, and Jay Elliott was involved in that somehow as well, wasn't he? Because Jay Elliott's dropped out of this. Where was Jay Elliott in all of that?
Well, he lost about 11 seconds through hairpin 2, but that is not good news at all for Jay Elliott and Ian Blake. They fall right to the bottom of the order. So the order is now Joe Holmes leading from Steve Brown, Dan Healy up to 3rd, and Dan Healy has a penalty. Dan Healy has a penalty for an ABC takeout. Well, that is going to be him, I think, excluded from the results.
Yeah, I'm not massively surprised by that. There's clearly something that went on amongst the battle over 3rd place there. And look at this, Steve Brown to the inside of Joe Holmes for the lead in guard. A fantastic move, but Holmes is going to get a good line out of it. They're going to be side by side up the hill towards Cafe. Brown versus Holmes. Brown's going to have the inside line. They're still side by side as they come across the line. Who's it going to be? It's just about Joe Holmes. He has the inside line for Conways. Turns in, manages to hold on to it, but Brown's going to try and come back at him into hairpin 1. Got the inside line, up the inside. Fantastic battling over the lead here in the Elites final. Still side by side going to hairpin 2. Joe Holmes is going to try and get good run off the corner down through the S's, but it's not going to be on. Steve Brown takes the lead after a fantastic few corners of battling. I'm not going to bet at all either that this one's over yet.
This is fantastic stuff here at Buckmore Park. Your 2 last champions in Elites for Club 100 sprints straight away. Round 1 going hammer and tong on each other here once again in 2018, and Steve Brown now leads at the halfway point of this final from Joe Holmes. Dan Healy is still to see there 3rd on the road, but we know he's got a substantial penalty, so in effect your driver in 3rd and getting a nice trophy to take home at the moment is Jack Harding there in the green and white in the number 12.
He may have a substantial penalty, but he could still be a key factor in the rest of this race if these 2 leaders keep battling and he gets onto terms with them. He's still physically going to be a kart there to worry about. So plenty of stories still to emerge from this race. Steve Brown leads ahead of Joe Holmes. There's Dan Healy on the road in 3rd. And then it's Jack Harding in 4th and Jonathan Lister in 5th.
Just to give a shout out to the rookies, so these are drivers taking part in and and a cone penalty. Oh, that's crucial. A cone penalty for the number 3. Steve Brown is, well, probably going to lose this final because of that.
Yeah, that's massive, isn't it? So Joe Holmes moves back to your effective lead of the race. Always starts to get confusing when these penalties come in, as the order on the road is different. That's a lovely move by Jack Bolton there. Into hairpin 2. That was to take himself past Daz Teal, wasn't it?
No, it was past Steve Hicks.
Steve Hicks.
Yeah.
I thought I saw. Okay. Yep, fair enough.
Rookies. These are drivers taking part in Elites for the first time. Currently, your leader on the road, indicated by the black backgrounds and white numbering on the little timing tower on the left of your screen. Rob Newman, reigning BUKC Drivers Individual Champion in P7. There he is. He's right on the back now of Pete O'Connor, and he's trying to get past O'Connor and Jonathan Lister in front of him. Really impressive stuff this from Newman. Newman looking down the inside for 6th place. Clean as you like. Classic hairpin 2 manoeuvre. And Rob Newman up to 6th place.
Lovely move. I'm going to go back on my previous statement, actually. It was Jack Bolton past Daz Till, because Bolton is now pressuring Stephen Hicks.
Oh, apologies.
As they battle. No worries. It's just very frantic at the moment, and fantastic battling going on there between all 3 drivers over 8th place there, as the leaders continue to cling on to each other at the head of this field. Joe Holmes ahead of Steve Brown, and sorry, no, that is a change, isn't it? I was thinking in terms of the fact that Steve Brown has this penalty, but change on the road for position between Holmes and Brown. So Joe Holmes back to the head of this field.
But that is crucial for Steve Brown, because that would now mean that he would drop down to third. But remember, Daniel Healy has an even more substantial penalty for an ABC takeout, which has demoted Ian Blake to the bottom of the order. So currently, second is Jack Harding.
Yeah, I would wager he perhaps doesn't know that, given how complicated the means that working that result out are. But I agree with you. I think it is Harding, and Harding is challenging the back of Daniel Healy. There's Lister in the number 10, now under pressure from Rob Newman, and then Peter O'Connor is right with them, and then further back it's Stephen Hicks, Jack Bolton and Darren Teal. As
Newman to the inside.
Lovely move there, but Lister's going to try and come back at him through Henry's Bend and into hairpin 1, and look as well at the number 6 of Peter O'Connor. He comes through on Newman, picked up the spoils of that one nicely, goes defensive into hairpin 2. Fantastic battle this. Lister leads them as they go into the downhill section through the S's and down through Symes Sweep. Here they come, one of the blind corners here at Buckmore Park. Through Pullman's and into Paddock. And Newman goes for it into Paddock, up the inside of O'Connor. O'Connor decides to go to the left of those bollards in avoiding action. But the move looked good to me, Andrew, from Newman.
Yeah.
Although I do confess it's not my call. But Newman racing well here. But I make no mistake about it, O'Connor will want to make up for that one again, as Newman looks to get past Lister for 5th on the road at least. It may be different with penalties being applied to Healy and Brown, as there's a contact warning for Steve Brown. So he's definitely trying every which way he can to take the lead on the road from Joe Holmes. There's the 21 of Hicks, who has Jack Bolton and Sam Spinell behind.
So Bolton and Spinell currently second and third in the Elite Rookies. And it's through! Newman's just got past Lister. We just saw on the shot there, the orange helmet of Rob Newman, the number 19, is now up to 5th place.
We're on the last lap, Andrew. So last opportunities for these drivers, as Lister had to think about going up the inside of Newman into hairpin 1, but thought better of it.
Newman will defend into hairpin 2. So it looks like this is effectively the battle for 4th, remember, because of Dan Healy's penalty. But we need to look at the leaders. Here they are, Steve Brown on the inside.
On the inside of Paddock.
Trying to get through, and look at Healy and Harding are in there as well. Is Joe Holmes going to hold on for another victory in Club 100 Elites? They're coming up the hill now, and it looks like the reigning champion is going to start 2018 in the best fashion. Joe Holmes wins it. Steve Brown is second on the road but has a penalty. Dan Healy has a penalty as well in third, so I reckon Jack Harding will take second place. Rob Newman is top rookie. He comes home 5th on the road. Then it's Jonathan Lister, Peter O'Connor, Stephen Hicks in 8th, Jack Bolton in 9th with Sam Spinell wrapping out the top 10, Darren Teal in 11th, Ed Bars in 12th. Good result for Dave Longman on his return to Elites in 13th. Good result as well in his debut in Elites for Rob Moore in 14th. And then it was Harrison Darville, Peter Harris, Dan Truman, Jay Elliott and Chris Dixon. Tyler Mays and Ian Blake both had issues in that race and finished 20th and 21st. What a final, Howard, to start things here at Club 100 at Buckmore Park for 2018.
Yeah, that absolutely fantastic race, wasn't it? Yes, we did see some penalties being applied to those drivers at the sharp end of the field, and I'm sure there's a rather unhappy Ian Blake somewhere in that paddock at the moment, because he was having a really good run as well. But what an amazing race. You could see how close the karts are in this class. Not a slow one amongst them, and it's going to be a fantastic season, isn't it, to see them racing at the premier kart venues around the country. Can't wait. And that was a fantastic way to get it started, and a fantastic way, of course, for Joe Holmes to get his title defence off to a good start. It's difficult to do, to win it back-to-back seasons. Chris Powell has run back-to-back seasons of this class in the past. I say, Chris Powell has run back-to-back in the Premier Sprint class in the past. But Joe Holmes gets his championship bid off to a fantastic start there. 150 points going his way. As we now look for the final in the other class racing in this first block of races today. So to be clear, the lightweights and heavyweights still to come this afternoon. But this is the conclusion of the first period of the day. I want to say the morning's racing, but we are actually in the afternoon now. That's why I'm struggling for words. Let's call it that anyway. The morning's racing concludes now with the Clubman Sprint Final. So we're keeping our eyes on the end of the pit lane. And of course the grid for this race, unlike the heats, is not random. It's been determined by the heats for these Clubman races. This is the tier below the elite, but don't think for one moment that that makes them particularly slow, because I guarantee they're not. I can see them getting ready in the pit lane, all sat in their karts. They will get bump started out, as indeed these direct drive karts need. Do keep your comments coming in on Facebook. Fantastic to have you along watching this. Thank you, Chris James. Great commentary. I'll take that. Oh. Producer James says the best. Thank you, James. And thanks to everyone who's making this live stream possible. We've got James from Alpha Live keeping all this stream looking fine and dandy. Chris Simpson is also sat alongside Andrew and myself here in comms, making sure everything looks lovely from the cameras around the circuit. And of course, all the cameramen around the circuit bringing you these shots, doing a fantastic job, and it's an absolute delight to be bringing you this live coverage of round one of Club 100 Sprint Racing for 2018. We're going to be going on from here to some of the most popular karting venues around the country. It's going to be a fantastic season. We are just waiting for the Clubmans to get themselves ready. But yeah, fantastic.
I think we're just waiting for an official result for the elite final in race control before they can be ready to kick off proceedings for the Clubman Final. Yeah.
It is a fantastic calendar we've got ahead of us, though, for the rest of this year. After this, we'll be off to Wilton Mill in April and Rye House. Club 100 takes a break typically throughout March because of the support that Club 100 gives to the British Universities Karting Championship. So it'll be Wilton Mill and Rye House in April. Then we're on to Shennington, which features on the calendar for the first time, certainly quite a while. Glan-y-gors, and then we will be back here in the summer.
Apologies, folks. I've not had a grid sent across to me for this Clubman Final. So, well, not yet anyway. But we have got a bit of practice beforehand.
Get a grid during that time.
We'll let you know.
Don't. What's that? Excuse me. Don't forget. I'm trying to combine several words at once there. Don't forget that all the live timings are available at live.alphatiming.co.uk/Club100. You can see exactly the same timings that we're using to give you all of the positions as they happen. There's also the driver tracker there, a really nice map of Buckmore Park, which has little dots moving around it for each of the drivers. First, second and third are coloured gold, silver and bronze accordingly. But you can also follow your favourite drivers by clicking their position number next to their name.
Did we say hello to this chap?
We haven't said hello.
Hello, Luke. Pleasure doing the stream for you. Yep, Luke Hornsby, very distinctive race suit and helmet combination. Look forward to seeing you back later in the season in the Clubmans.
Great to see support coming in as well for some of the drivers in this one. Support coming in for Andrew Hall Jr. Hello, Holly. Great to know that you're watching.
I have a grid.
Andrew's doing his I have a grid hand waving.
So the grid for this one, this is the Clubman Sprint Final for round 1 of Club 100 2018. James Taylor will be on pole position alongside Sammy Venables on row 1. Row 2 is Andrew Dawson and Mark Ridout. Row 3 is Stefan Scully and Matthew Fawkes. Row 4, James Martin and John Watkins. Row 5, Andrew Hall Jr. and Martin Theodoru. Row 6 is Christopher Powell and Darrell Lowe. Row 7 is Simon Lloyd and Christopher Bell. Row 8, David Whitehouse and Lee Kemp. Row 9, William Top and Frankie Hedges. Row 10, Stephen Jennings and Mike Townley. Row 11, Paul Jennings and Stuart Osborne. So it's 29, 11 and 11 on the front row, 15 and 1 row 2, 21 and 16 row 3.
Sorry, I'm turned down. Kevin Poole is asking on Facebook how long before the racing starts. Pretty soon. They're on the practice laps now, and then they'll go into their formation laps in their 2x2 grid formation, and then it'll be a rolling start for the 10-minute final that determines who takes home the all-important 150 points. What are we looking at there in the paddock?
We're looking at James Taylor making a kart change.
Yeah, well, that is partially what these practice laps are all about. Broadly speaking, these drivers pretty familiar with Buckmore. They're not going to gain too much by literally practicing out there. It's more to make sure that the kart is to their liking and in working order.
Just to confirm the elite final result, it is as we expected. Joe Holmes takes the big 150 points away from Buckmore Park today. Jack Harding second, Steve Brown third, Rob Newman fourth and top rookie, Jonathan Lister, Peter O'Connor fifth and sixth. Seventh was Steve Hicks, eighth Jack Bolton, ninth Darren Teal, 10th Sam Spinell, 11th for Dave Longman. So good result that for Dave Longman. I was chatting to him before the start of the race. He said he's not been in the kart for 6 months. The only sort of kart he's been in was a Mario Kart Tour of Tokyo.
Which sounds amazing.
It sounds amazing, I mean, but it's not Club 100 practice,
is
it?
I'm not sure how applicable it is, but you know, every little helps with these things. James Taylor has re-emerged, as you can see there, with a different kart. The interesting question, I didn't see whether that was one of the karts that had just been in the elite, so he might have rather cold tyres on that kart. Hasn't had a chance to do any fast laps in the practice because they've gone immediately into rolling up.
Just to finish off that result, Ed Bars 12th, Rob Moore 13th, Harrison Darville 14th. Stop me if we're about to start, Howard. Peter Harris 15th, Dan Truman 16th, 17th for Jay Elliott, 18th for Chris Dixon, 19th Tyler Mays, 20th Ian Blake, and an exclusion for Daniel Healy. That was your elite round 1 results for 2018.
That was a pretty dramatic race. I'm fairly confident this is going to be a dramatic race. James Taylor, our pole sitter, has changed his car just before the start of this one, as he's entitled to do. And the drivers form up for this last race of this first portion of the day's action. Lightweights and heavyweights still to come this afternoon, but right now it's time for the Clubmans to shine. As we're going around again, according to the pusher cart driver, so something's not quite ready, whether it be the driver's positions or potentially something in race control. They just want to get sorted before they unleash this pack of 22 drivers.
So just to run you through the grid again, 29, James Taylor will start on pole position. Sammy Venables, P2 in the number 11. Row 2 is Andrew Dawson, or should be Andrew Dawson, yes there he is, in the 15, and the number 1 of Mark Ridout. Yeah, he's there. I'm trying to see who's missing. That's the issue. But no, we're good. There's a thumbs up there from the track marshal I can see out of our window. We are ready then. It's round 1 of the Club 100 Sprints Championships for 2018 here, live with Alpha Live from Buckmore Park. We're ready for our Clubman Sprint Final. Watch the lights. It's red, it's green, and once again James Taylor gets the jump on the other side. Oh, there's been an incident at the back of the field. The number 7 is already off. They've not even made the start line. But this one is not going to be restarted. So the number 7, which was Stuart Osborne, right at the back of the field, did not even make the start. But James Taylor leads. It's Andrew Dawson up to 2nd place. Sammy Venables has gone down to 4th place. Stefan Scully has nicked 3rd off of him.
I was going to say, Sammy Venables went straight to the inside line off of the even side of the grid. He was definitely...
And up the inside, Scully for 2nd place. And Venables is coming through as well, trying to take 3rd off Andrew Dawson.
And he's going to do that up the inside of Garda. And look out for James Martin trying to get back, trying to get past the number 15 of Dawson as well as they come up the hill. Thankfully the kart that was involved in an incident has been cleared by this point. And look at this, going into turn 1, James Martin, Andrew Hall Jr., all of them basically.
David Whitehouse has had a really good start. He's up to 9th place from 15th on the grid, but it's James Taylor leading from Stefan Scully. So the winner from Heat 3 against the winner from Heat 2. Look out for James Martin as well.
The inside of Simon Sweep, Andrew. Scully to the inside of Simon Sweep. What an attempt on the lead.
Sammy
Venables. That was an amazing attempt for the lead by Scully. It nearly paid off as well. Venables now is going to try to the inside, but Scully's gone defensive. That was an incredible set of corners. Just suddenly kicked off amongst the top 3.
I have never seen that before. I've never even seen someone try, even dare to think of overtaking in a Club 100 kart through there. But my goodness me, did James Taylor do well to hold on to that. James Taylor leads, Stefan Scully 2nd, Sammy Venables 3rd. Don't count out Andrew Dawson. And out goes Simon Lloyd. Simon Lloyd is out. He was 13th. Oh, that's such a shame for him. Chris Powell coming through past Mark Ridout there. The black suit and the white helmet, but Ridout gets back around the outside of him. That's for 10th place. But it's still Taylor from Scully, Venables still 3rd, Dawson 4th. Fawkes is still there in the 16.
Dawson went to the inside, I think, to have a sort of attempt at Sammy Venables there, but it wasn't really on there.
Well, we saw this in Heat 2 as well, that James Taylor was under constant pressure from everyone really behind him, and he managed to hold on for the race win there. Now this race is 2 minutes longer, as that's Simon Lloyd recovering to the pit lane. Can Taylor hold on for this one?
Track limit warning there for Matthew Fawkes. Just to be clear, a warning does not constitute a penalty, as Venables has a look at Scully, but it didn't happen there on the exit of hairpin 2, in spite of having a good drive off the corner. Matthew Fawkes now all over the back of Andrew Dawson as well.
Great stuff here from the Clubmans. James Taylor has a little check over his shoulder to see where Stefan Scully is. But this is remarkable, just how much pressure James Taylor is able to soak up here. Look at them all streaming through. The first gap is, and defensive again goes Taylor on Scully. Venables trying to go round the outside there.
Yeah, and he in turn is under pressure from Andrew
And up the
Dawson.
inside goes Scully. It's a hairpin one and takes the lead. Stefan Scully to the lead, and finally someone's been able to overtake James Taylor.
Look at Dawson though, up the move, up the inside of Venables, and now Matthew Fawkes is trying to go through as well. They're going to be side by side into the S's. They're still side by side. Venables is going to hold on to it. He has the inside line for Simon Sweep, as there's a bit of driving off over the runoff there, but they were getting quite close together, so that's to be expected somewhat. But Matthew Fawkes does need to be careful because he's already had one track limit warning.
This is Sprint Racing 101. This is tight. This is frenetic. This is Club 100, and we've got 6 minutes of this final in the Clubmans for round 1 to go. There's a penalty. There's a penalty for Andrew Dawson for an ABC bump and pass, and that is his chance of winning this race done.
Further back in the order, some battling going on there between, I think it was Stephen Jennings, Christopher Powell and Christopher Bell.
Yeah, Powell up the inside of Jennings there and through hairpin 2. So Stefan Scully, who won Heat 3.
John Watkins and Paul Jennings were also battling behind them.
So can Scully make it 2 wins in a row? And of course this one bigger than a heat. This is 150 points on offer and a fantastic start to the season for whoever can win it. halfway through this Clubman Sprint Final for round 1, Club 100 2018. I'm nearly out of breath already. There's the contact warning for both Mark Ridout and Andrew Hall Jr.
Absolutely. Oh, the 14 of Stephen Jennings to the inside of William Top. I just saw in hairpin 1. Meanwhile, further up the order, Ridout has
on Theodoro.
Theodoro in hairpin 2. We need to keep our eyes up at the front because the lead battle is still close as you like.
And Taylor's back through. Taylor is back through.
Yeah, back through into the lead. Past Scully, and Venables still there trying to buy into this and find a way past Scully as they head up the hill again. There's still 4.5 minutes to go of this one, Andrew. This could go any which way. James Taylor confirmed as back to the head of this field. Stephen Scully second, Sammy Venables is third. Andrew Dawson is fourth on the road but has a penalty to be applied post-race. Andrew Hall Jr. fifth. Then it's Fawkes, Martin, Theodoro, Whitehouse and Ridout to round out the top 10.
Andrew Hall Jr. having a really good race here. His heat results were consistent, 12th, 8th and 8th, but here he is. He's up in the top 5. Having a really good one. Oh, who's that out? I think, is that Frankie Hedges again? Possibly.
Might well be out of our view from Cobb's box, unfortunately.
I'm just going to have a look at see who's not coming through Sector 2. Oh, it might be Paul. No, it's not Paul Jennings. He's just come through. We'll catch up on that in a moment. Taylor goes defensive again into turn 1. Stefan Scully all over his rear bumper. Sammy Venables still there as well. Andrew Dawson is there, but we know he's got a penalty.
Although Dawson's going to try and get good late apex off of hairpin 1 maybe and capitalise. It's not there. He has a look to the outside for hairpin 2. He's got Andrew Hall Jr. right with him. The
spinner indeed was Frankie Hedges. And Taylor's run wide. Taylor's run wide through the S's.
And Venables through. Venables through. Scully's lost out in that engagement. Scully, I think, got balked by what happened there coming out of the S's, and Venables was able to get through. Venables now challenging for the lead. Andrew Dawson's got through as well.
So Sammy Venables on his debut here in Clubman finished 4th in the championship in lightweights last year. We'll see the lightweights later this afternoon. Can he challenge here for a first ever final win in Clubman's? Into hairpin 1 they go. James Taylor has a contact warning now. There's a bit of a touch there between Venables and Dawson. We know Dawson has a penalty already. Andrew Hall's still there in 5th place. 6th, James Martin. You can see him in the black suit and the green helmet. Don't count him out of this one at this stage, but just under 2.5 minutes to go. Howard, this is brilliant stuff.
Absolutely fantastic stuff, Andrew. It's just the first round of the season. Imagine when championships start to be on the line here. 150 points is going to be awarded to one of these drivers at the end of this race.
Probably 3 laps to go. So as they start this one, this is 3 laps to go. Can James Taylor hold on for this win? Stephen Jennings has a contact warning. He does indeed.
Sorry, Andrew. Venables is going to have decent drive. Can he do anything with it into hairpin 1? No. Bumper to, well, nose to tail, I should say. But there has been bump to bump.
Oh, Dawson on the inside.
Yeah, he's going to get a good drive, but I don't think he's going to have enough drive off that corner into the S's. It's still going to be Venables second. Cleaner through the S's this time than it was a lap or so ago. Taylor absorbing so much pressure at the head of this field as look at Scully and Andrew Hall as well, getting past Dawson. Dawson's had a terrible couple of corners there. James Martin's through as well, yeah, in the number 2. And now look at it, Andrew Dawson is getting mugged by every man and his dog in the field as Venables tries to get good drive again, with Taylor going defensive through turns 1 and 2. As there's a cone penalty for David Whitehouse, that's going to be frustrating for him, as Scully and Hall Jr. Going side by side. Hall is through. Andrew Hall Jr. up to 3rd place as Sammy Venables is still hounding the back of Taylor for the lead of this race. This is absolutely fantastic racing here at Buckmore Park in the Clubman Final of round 1 of the 2018 Sprint Championships. Look over the shoulder from our lead James Taylor, and look over his shoulder, well he might, because pretty much the entire field is with him as they're coming around. I think, is this going to count as the last lap, Andrew?
This is going on to the last lap now, and James Taylor is doing a full-on Gandalf because shall not pass.
Scully passed Andrew Hall Jr. into turn 3, but Hall tries to come back at him in the second part of the first two corners, side by side through hairpin 1, and it's going to allow everybody else behind them to have a go as well. Look out for James Martin, but it's still Venables challenging the back of James Taylor, who is defending for his life out there as they come into the second part of the lap, downhill through Sime Sweep and Pullmans. Is Venables going to have anything on into Paddock or Garda?
This is the opportunity for Venables. He's got to stick it on the inside. Taylor goes defensive. He's got a pack of hounds coming up behind him, but it looks like James Taylor is going to hold on for another victory here at Buckmore Park. He comes over the top of the hill, and James Taylor, arm aloft, wins in Clubman. He wins Clubman Sprint round 1, and my goodness me, look at them streaming through. The top 19 is covered by 6 seconds, and the winning margin is less than a tenth of a second. Sammy Venables threw everything at James Taylor there, but what a win for the number 29. He takes 150 points in the championship. Sammy Venables on his debut in Clubman takes second place with 145 points. I think he should be pretty pleased with that on his first outing at this level. Andrew Hall Jr., a fantastic final, finishes in third. Stefan Scully was part of that race. He led for a little while. He finished fourth. James Martin won a heat earlier. In Heat 1, he takes a top 5 away from Buckmore Park here today in the final. Andrew Dawson's 6th. There's a shake of hands there between first and second, which is always good to see. Andrew Dawson finished 6th, but we know he's got a penalty. Mark Ridout was 7th. Christopher Bell was 8th. David Whitehouse 9th. Matthew Fawkes in 10th. Stephen Jennings 11th. Martin Theodori was 12th. Chris Powell comes home in 13th. John Watkins, another debutant at this level, finishes in 14th. William Topp was 15th. Darrell Lowe 16th. Mike Townley in 17th. Lee Kemp 18th. 19th for Paul Jennings. 20th for Frankie Hedges, who had a spin. 21st for Stuart Osborne, who didn't actually make the start of the race. He had a problem on roll-up. And 22nd and a retirement for Simon Lloyd. What a race, Howard. What a way to start the season.
Are you not entertained, ladies and gentlemen? We have been treated to 2 fantastic races in the finals of the Clubman and Elites there. Absolutely brilliant racing. Andrew, I've got a sore throat already, and that's a problem because we've still got plenty of racing action to come here for you from Buckmore Park. It's going to be the lightweights and heavyweights later on today. But that was absolutely fantastic, and I think all the drivers involved can go home with their heads held high for what has been some fantastic racing there.
So just to go through some timings for you folks, this is going to be the end of this broadcast for round 1 of the Club 100 Elites and Clubman Sprints Championships. We will be back here on the Club 100 Facebook page just around 2 o'clock. So you've got about an hour to go and get some lunch. So 2 o'clock for the lights and the heavyweights for the start of their championships. And in the meantime as well, if you just can't get enough of the karting, go over to Wilton Mill Kart Club's Facebook page because I believe their stream done by Alpha Live continues.
In fact,
there it is on the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much. It's been a fantastic first round for the Elites and the Clubmans, really showing how it's done. My name's been Andrew Mather, he's been Howard Mitchell, we've been Double Dash Motorsport Media providing your commentary here at Buckmore Park today. Do check out our Facebook page as well. This has been an Alpha Live production for Club 100 Racing. That's been round 1 here at Buckmore Park. We'll see you back very, very shortly at 2 o'clock for the lights and the heavies. And for Elites and Clubmans, we will see you next for round 2. Well, round 2 for the championship is at Wilton Mill on Sunday, the 15th of April. We'll see you then. Thank you very much and goodbye.